Imagine sitting in quiet meditation and noticing that even when your thoughts dissolve into silence, a faint echo of me still lingers. What if that persistent me isn't the unshakable truth you believe it to be, but rather an intricate illusion crafted by your own mind? Today, we dive deep into the mystery of the inner voice and question who is really behind the constant chatter in your head. Our mind is a master architect, meticulously constructing a self-image from memories, beliefs, and lifelong conditioning. It creates an endless internal dialogue that feels as intimate as a conversation with a trusted friend. Yet, in this ceaseless exchange, the mind plays both roles. It is the storyteller and the audience, the speaker and the silent listener. This self-generated loop forms what we call the voice in your head. At first glance, it seems obvious. The voice is talking to you, right? But if you observe closely, a surprising truth emerges. There isn't a fixed you behind that voice. Instead, your mind is simply engaged in an internal dialogue. Thoughts responding to thoughts in an endless, ever-changing stream. This realization might sound absurd, yet it lies at the very heart of our human experience. Consider how you've always believed in a stable, unchanging self. Day after day, you listen to that inner voice and take its words as gospel. But when you pause and truly observe, you realize that the me you know today isn't the same me you had moments or even minutes ago. Emotions shift, opinions evolve, and the roles you play change with each passing experience. So, what remains constant amid this constant flux? During deep meditation, when your thoughts settle into silence, a moment of stillness appears, a pause where the incessant chatter subsides. In that silence, you begin to see that the ongoing dialogue isn't a conversation with a separate self. It's merely the mind interacting with its own ideas, a self-reflective process that creates the illusion of a permanent identity. This insight is both liberating and a bit unsettling. On one hand, it means you are not defined solely by the thoughts that pass through your mind. On the other, it challenges the very foundation of your identity. The persistent I you assume to be the core of your being might just be an elaborate story, a narrative built over time from experiences and social conditioning. Imagine your mind as an artist, painting a self-portrait with every memory and emotion as a brushstroke. Over time, the portrait appears solid and permanent. Yet, if you step back, you see that the painting is still evolving. Each stroke blends into the next, constantly shifting with new experiences. The me you cling to is not static. It is fluid, transforming with every passing moment. Have you ever caught yourself lost in a conversation with your thoughts, wondering, do these ideas really belong to me? Perhaps you've questioned, what if I simply let these thoughts pass by? In truth, the mind doesn't need an audience to keep its monologue going. It creates a self-sustaining dialogue, where one thought gives way to another, forming the illusion of a permanent internal narrator. This phenomenon is the source of our deepest struggles. We identify so strongly with the voice inside our head that we come to believe it is our true self. Yet, if you can step back and observe this internal chatter without getting drawn in, you begin to see it for what it truly is: fleeting, transient patterns. Like clouds drifting across an endless sky, behind these passing shapes lies a silent, unchanging awareness. That awareness is the real you, the constant presence that simply observes all thoughts and emotions without getting caught up in them. It is not the content of your mind, but the space in which all that content appears and disappears. Recognizing this truth can be profoundly empowering. Once you understand that you are not your thoughts, but the quiet observer behind them, you gain access to a deep inner freedom. As you continue this journey, you might begin to question the very nature of identity. Picture your mind as a vast, ever-changing theater. The characters on stage, your self-images, your fears, your hopes, appear and vanish like actors in a play. One moment you're confident, the next insecure. Yet, amidst this dramatic performance, there is something deeper, a silent observer that watches without judgment. That observer is your true self, the unchanging essence that exists beyond the constant buzz of thought. Now, consider the inner dialogue. Have you ever noticed that thoughts often spark more thoughts, creating a lively conversation in your head. It's as if the mind stages a debate, with one voice challenging another. But pause and ask, who is really listening? You might find there is no distinct listener at all, just an endless loop of mental chatter, sustaining the illusion of a separate I. This perpetual loop can trap you in cycles of self-doubt, anxiety, and even complacency. When you believe that your fluctuating thoughts define you, you become entangled in a web of uncertainty. But by stepping back and simply observing, you begin to experience a profound sense of inner peace, a realization that while thoughts may come and go, the awareness that witnesses them remains constant. Next time you catch yourself immersed in this mental dialogue, pause and ask, who is really speaking here? Instead of reacting or getting swept up in the conversation, take a moment to simply observe. Let the thoughts rise and fall like gentle waves, and notice the still silence that lies beneath. In that silence, you start to understand that the voice in your head isn't the essence of who you are. It's just noise, a series of transient thoughts that do not define your true being. This exploration isn't meant to dismiss the importance of thinking. It's about recognizing that the chatter is just a process, not your identity. Realize that the true power lies in the space between the thoughts, the quiet that remains once the mental noise subsides. That is where the real you exists, unburdened by labels, expectations, or the endless cycle of internal dialogue. By questioning the narrative that has always been accepted, you open the door to a whole new way of living, a way where you are not confined by the roles your mind has built. You start to see that the voice is simply a reflection of your experiences, a constantly edited script that you can choose to observe rather than let define you. In this state of mindful observation, you begin to find a deep inner clarity. Every thought is like a ripple on a vast, still ocean, and you, the eternal observer, remain unchanging, witnessing each ripple without being drawn in. This realization offers a powerful sense of freedom, the freedom to simply exist without the need for constant validation from the mind's chatter. As you move forward with this understanding, remember that the journey to self-discovery is continuous. Every moment offers a chance to step back, observe, and reconnect with the silent presence within you. With time, you may find that the internal dialogue no longer holds you captive, but becomes a tool, a source of insight that you can use at will. This is just the beginning of a profound exploration into the nature of self. There's so much more to uncover about the interplay between thought and pure awareness. For now, embrace the notion that you are not your thoughts, that you are the silent observer behind every fleeting idea, and allow that realization to guide you toward a more peaceful, empowered state of being. Now that you've begun to see through the endless chatter, let's dive deeper into what lies beyond the constant dialogue. When you shift your focus from engaging with every thought to simply observing, you start to notice an unchanging silence, a pure, expansive awareness that underpins all mental activity. This silent witness isn't influenced by the fleeting emotions or the ever-changing stories of your mind. It is the constant, the true you that exists beyond the illusion of the self. As you practice mindful observation, you may begin to notice how the mind's chatter resembles a vast, ever-changing theater. The characters, your doubts, your desires, your triumphs, come and go like actors on stage. But step back, and what remains is not the performance, but the stage itself. A spacious, tranquil presence that simply is. This realization can be both liberating and transformative. It means that you have the power to detach from the chaos and reconnect with a deeper sense of peace. Now, consider the implications of this shift. When you recognize that the internal dialogue is just a process, a self-perpetuating cycle of thoughts, you free yourself from the burden of defining who you are by those transient moments. In practical terms, this means you can choose not to be swept away by every worry, every fleeting insecurity, or every harsh judgment. Instead, you gain the ability to let thoughts pass like clouds, without allowing them to dictate your mood or identity. This newfound clarity has real-life benefits. Imagine approaching challenges with a calm, measured mind. Each problem is seen as a ripple on a still lake, not a storm that upends your entire world. With every mindful pause, you reclaim a bit more control over your inner state. You begin to notice that the constant need for validation, the endless cycle of self-doubt, and the anxiety of overthinking all begin to fade. You become the silent observer, capable of witnessing your emotions without being overwhelmed by them. One powerful practice to deepen this awareness is to regularly check in with yourself. Throughout your day, whether you're in conversation, working, or even walking down the street, pause for a moment and ask, "Who is here?" Let your attention drift to that quiet space where thoughts arise and vanish, and notice the serene presence that remains. Over time, this practice trains your mind to detach from the incessant inner narrative and find refuge in the calm center within you. As you progress on this journey, remember that it's not about forcing the mind to be silent or trying to eradicate thoughts entirely. Instead, it's about cultivating the ability to witness them without getting entangled. This shift in perspective transforms your relationship with your inner world. You begin to see that your thoughts are not your enemy. They're simply signals, momentary data points in a larger tapestry of experience. By embracing this practice, you unlock a profound sense of freedom. The more you observe, the more you realize that you are not defined by the endless stream of ideas and emotions that momentarily capture your attention. Instead, you are the timeless awareness that sits at the core of all experience. This understanding brings a deep inner calm, a realization that nothing external can disturb the unwavering peace within you. In essence, the journey of self-inquiry is about stepping back and reclaiming your power from the mind's endless chatter. It's about understanding that while thoughts may come and go, the silent observer remains constant, offering you an anchor of calm and clarity. This is the true secret to inner freedom, a state where you are no longer captive to the illusion of a fixed identity, but are free to simply be. Embrace this awareness and let it guide you through the ups and downs of life. As you continue to practice mindful observation, you will discover that the more you detach from the ceaseless dialogue, the more space you create for genuine peace and clarity. And in that space, you find your true self, unchanging, serene, and infinitely powerful. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and remember, the voice in your head is just a fleeting echo. You are the eternal observer, and that is where your true strength lies.